Good morning, everyone. Our topic is all about nutrient utilization. First, we have to define what is digestion. So, digestion is one of the reasons why food is important in that it serves as a source of nutrients for the body's many functions. The food, however, must be converted into form the body can use water, mineral, salts, and vitamins are directly absorbed in the gastrointestinal tract or GIT. The complex substances like carbohydrate, protein, and fat must be broken down mechanically and/or chemically into smaller and simpler units, a complex process known as digestion. Then, can be absorbed and circulated by the body. Digestion is accomplished mechanically by chewing and swallowing in the mouth, and the storage mixing controlled emptying in the stomach and intestines, and chemically by the action of enzymes resulting in the eventual splitting up of foodstuffs into simple components. These two interrelated processes of digestion proceed simultaneously and are controlled by nervous and hormonal stimuli. So, there are four processes of digestion. The first is the digestion in mouth, the digestion in stomach, the digestion in small intestine, and the digestion in large intestine. So we have to tackle the digestion in mouth. So with the entrance of food in the mouth, digestion is started by means of mastication. This is responsible for increasing the surface area for digestive action and for the stimulation of the flow of saliva. The saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands under the tongue, the lower jaw, and in the cheek, contains a starch-splitting enzyme amylases and mucin responsible for moistening the food. Only a small portion of the complex carbohydrates is converted into dextrins and maltose and sugar in alkaline medium. Also, the extent at which food stays in the mouth is too short for any appreciable digestion to occur. So when the masticated food mass called bolus is swallowed, it passes downward to the esophagus by means of muscular contraction controlled by the nerve reflexes. Peristalsis then moves the food rapidly into the stomach. Digestion in stomach, there are processes occur. So the first is the stomach receives the food and acts as a reservoir for a short time. The peristaltic activity in the stomach walls reduces the mass into a semi-fluid churn. Second is the acidity of the stomach caused by the secretion of hydrochloric acid in the gastric juice stops the digestive action of ptyalin into the food mass. Then third is a thick slimy mucus called mucin is secreted from the stomach wall to protect the cells from being digested by the enzymes. The fourth is all foods are liquefied and mixed with hydrochloric acid, and the HCI is responsible for creating a favorable pH for the action of pepsin, a gastric enzyme that converts proteins into polypeptides. Then the milk is curdled and the casein is set free. This is made possible by renin present in young mammals. It should be noted at this point that renin is different from renin. Thus, the latter is produced in the kidneys for other specific function. Thus, the digestion of fat, especially the emulsified ones, commences in the stomach due to the presence of small amounts of gastric lipids, and emulsified fats are converted to fatty acids. 7 is very little digestion of fats occurs in the stomach. 8. The food leaves the stomach in the form of chyme. And the last is the stomach is normally empty in 1 to 4 hours with carbohydrates leaving the stomach rapidly followed by protein and fats. Then, in digestion in small intestine, the small intestine is divided into duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Majority of the digestive process is completed in the duodenum, and the rest mainly function principally in the absorption of nutrients. The pancreas secretes enzymes capable of digesting carbohydrates, protein, and fats. These include trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase, ribonuclease, and deoxyribonuclease, lactase, amylase, and lipase. Chemical digestion occurs largely in the small intestine. The chyme passes through the pylorus into the duodenum, and the rate of emptying is controlled by the pyloric valve. In the duodenum, pancreatic juice, bile salts, and intestinal juice mix with the chyme. The last process of digestion is in the large intestine. So the large intestine does not take part in the digestion of foods. Any bulky and unused parts of the diet are passed on to it. In the colon, water is reabsorbed, causing the formation of a fairly solid mass when the rectum is reached. The mass is evacuated in the form of feces. This consists of undigested food fibers, bacteria, cells cast off the intestine, and some mucus and some salts. So the function of the large intestine may be summarized as follows. The absorption of water is largely done in the colon. Sodium and other minerals are absorbed to a limited extent. Synthesis of vitamin K and some vitamins of B complex by the bacterial flora take place. Then cellulose and other ingestible polysaccharides are gathered for the formation of feces. So absorption, when the product of digestion passes through the lining of the digestive tract into the bloodstream and lymph, it is termed absorption. The absorption of digested food takes place largely in the small intestine through the villi. So the villi are finger-like projections lined in the intestinal wall, which increase the surface area for absorption. Each villus contains a lacteal and a capillary network. The capillaries drain into venules and eventually to the portal vein, so which carries the blood and it all contents to liver before entering the system circulation. The lacteal or lymphatic vessel empties into the lymphatic channels via the left thoracic duct into the systematic circulation. So the absorption in the small intestine may be accomplished by a number of processes depending on the nature of the nutrients and the prevailing pressure gradient. It includes osmosis or passive diffusion, carrier-mediated diffusion, energy-dependent active transport, and by the engulfing or pinocytosis. There are 5 kinds of absorption: the fat absorption, the carbohydrate absorption, the protein absorption, and mineral and vitamins absorption, and the last is the water absorption. First, the fat absorption. The main products of fat digestion are fatty acids, glycerol, and glycerides. So the peak of fat absorption is reached within 4 to 6 hours. Majority of the dietary is in the form of triglycerides, mono and diglycerides together with cholesterol and phospholipids are also ingested. The way the body handles the absorption of fat is related to the length of the carbon chain. Longer chain fatty acids are more difficult to absorb, especially if they are the saturated type than those with a high content of polyunsaturated and fatty acid or short-chain fatty acids. Long-chain triglycerides are absorbed into epithelial cell as monoglyceride fats, acids, and glycerol. The fats and untestified fatty acids are bound with small amounts of proteins to form lipoproteins called chylomicrons. Carbohydrate absorption. The simple sugars are absorbed through the walls of the intestine by means of simple diffusion and also by means of the mechanism requiring energy and active transform via the sodium pump. Sugar absorption is affected by the chemistry of the simple sugar. A transport mechanism serves as a common carrier and pathway for these sugars. All of the absorbed sugars enter circulation by the way of portal vein to the liver where certain changes take place. Glucose and galactose are absorbed by the transport that is sodium dependent and fructose through facilitative diffusion. Protein absorption. Amino acids are absorbed by the gastrointestinal tract mainly by carrier transport. Vitamin B is believed to be intimately involved with this mechanism. After absorption into intestinal mucosa, the amino acids are taken directly to the portal blood system through the fine network of capillaries. Competition for the absorption of amino acids seems to exist so that an amino acid which is predominant may retard the absorption of the other amino acids. Dipeptides and tripeptides are absorbed much faster than equivalent amino acid mixture. The peak level of absorption of proteins is intermediate between carbohydrates and mineral and vitamin absorption. Calcium and iron are absorbed chiefly from the upper part of the small intestine. To a limited extent, mineral salts are absorbed in the stomach. Vitamin B12, although synthesized by intestinal bacteria in the large intestine, is not absorbed by the large intestine since an intrinsic factor which is secreted in the stomach is necessary to combine with vitamin B12 for absorption in the small intestine. Fat-soluble vitamins or the vitamin A, D, E, K are absorbed with the fats in the presence of bile through the lymphatic system. Most of the vitamins and minerals are absorbed through the small intestine. However, the efficiency of absorption is affected by several factors. Then the last is the water absorption. Water absorption is water is absorbed mainly in the colon. At the same time, a solid mass is being formed. This reaches the rectum and is eventually evacuated as at feces. Then we have to tackle the metabolism. So, metabolism is the word used to indicate the chemical changes which take place in the cell and tissues which are necessary for the fulfillment of vital functions of living organism. There is a continuous balance between the building up of complex tissues with the consumption of energy known as anabolism and the breakdown of complex system with the liberation of energy known as catabolism. So metabolism have fat metabolism. So fat metabolism is the metabolism of what occurs chiefly in the bodies and tissue and in the liver. Fat after absorption follows one of the three pathways during metabolisms. So number one, as a source of energy in all tissues except the central nervous system. Number two, stored in the fat depots for future use as a source of energy. And number three is converted into glucose and metabolized in the same way as a source of energy, converted into glycogen or converted into fat. In protein metabolism, the metabolism of protein is concerned chiefly with the fate of the amino acids. The amino acids which arise from the absorption of amino acids from intestine, from tissue protein breakdown, and from the other sources form part of amino acid pool. From this pool is derived all the amino acid needs of an individual. When the end products of carbohydrate digestion are finally absorbed by the body, they have to undergo several reactions before they can produce energy. Fructose and galactose are eventually converted to glucose. So glucose, other than the carbohydrate sources, may also be obtained from the breakdown of glycogen from the products of intermediary metabolism of lactic acid and pyruvic acid, and from non-carbohydrate sources such as non-essential amino acids and fats. Then the carbohydrate metabolism. So glucose became one of the following. Number one, blood glucose, also called physiologic sugar. Number two, glycogen by glycogenesis, where it serves as stored glucose. Number three is part of the non-essential amino acids as alpha keto acids. Number four, constituent of the body structures like brain and cells. Adipose fat by lipogenesis. Glycerol provide the source for the reaction, pyruvate, which is the K metabolite in the Krebs cycle. Last is we have to tackle the excretion. So excretion of waste is accomplished by the kidney, the colon, the skin, and the lungs. The kidney removes nitrogenous waste such as urea, ammonia, uric acid, water, mineral salts, and water-soluble vitamins. The colon eliminates indigestible fiber, biopigments, cholesterol, some metabolic products, and bacterial waste. The skin eliminates water, mineral salts, and some nitrogenous waste, and the lungs give off carbon dioxide and water. And that's all, and I hope you have learned from my discussion. Thank you.